No chapter on editing audio would be complete without being able to add a music track underneath of our video to add additional interest and excitement to our video and take it to the next level. And Camtasia Studio makes this extremely easy. In fact, there's a bunch of royalty-free music that's already been included with your copy of Camtasia, and it's located here inside of the library. If you scroll all the way to the top, there's a whole bunch of music selections that are available to you. To preview some of them, all you need to do is click on the small plus sign next to a folder and find one of the audio tracks that you want to preview and simply double-click it. After listening to a few bars, you can decide if it's something that you might want to use. Each of the different audio selections that's been included with Camtasia also tells you what's the duration of that track, so you can closely match an audio track to the timeline, because by clicking anywhere inside of your timeline, you know the total length of time that your file is. So I've gone ahead and listened to a bunch of these different audio files, and I really like this one here, the Music Electro Pulse. We'll go ahead and click on the plus sign next to that one. And then, because our overall movie is 1 minute, 4 seconds, and 27 frames, we'll need to select an audio file that's long enough to cover up our entire track. So we'll go ahead and select the medium audio file, and we'll go ahead and preview it real quick by simply double-clicking on it. That's got a nice feel to it, and it should go great with our video. So in order to add this music track directly to our video, all we need to do is simply drag the audio file down here and drop it onto track 2. We can then adjust our track by dragging it over here to the left-hand side to get it to snap up to the left-hand edge. We can go ahead and preview this and see what it sounds like right now. We'll do that by simply pressing the spacebar on our keyboard. In this movie, we're going to explore working with tabs in the Firefox web browser. Tabs allow us to have... Now that's pretty interesting, but there's a couple of things going on here that are going to make it a little bit difficult for this to really work right here. The first of which is that our video track does not actually line up nicely with the theme music. We can see in the audio waveform that there's a bit of a crescendo right in this area, and it changes to a little bit different track. Let's go ahead and move our playhead down to that location and have a listen. To open a new tab in your browser, simply go up to the File menu and select... We're getting a lot more bass in at this point. There's definitely a shift in the audio file. So let's go ahead and make it so that when we finish this first clip where we tell the listener what they're going to hear, and then we begin talking about the tabs, which is right here at this location, let's get that to a line up right here. We'll do that by pressing Control-A on our keyboard to select all of our different audio tracks, and then hold down the Shift key on your keyboard and click on track 2 to deselect it. That way, all of the clips on track 1 are still selected. We'll go ahead and click and drag those clips downstream until the first split of the first clip aligns roughly with this large peak right in here. You can go ahead and back your track up all the way. I'm only going to back up a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and preview and see what it sounds like. In this movie, we're going to explore working with tabs in the Firefox web browser. Tabs allow us to have multiple... That's sounding much better. The problem that we've got now is that our music track is much louder than our speaking voice, and that would be pretty distracting. So what we want to do is we want to use a technique called ducking. In order to do that, all we need to do is go ahead and select the music track. We'll turn our audio editing on by simply right-clicking on the music track and selecting Edit Audio. Now, we can use the same tools and techniques that we've already learned for editing our audio tracks down here in our screencast. The first thing we want to do is go ahead and add an edit point right here at the transition point. So we'll go ahead and right-click on the timeline at that point, and we'll select Add Audio Point. We'll then move downstream just a little bit, right-click, and add another audio point. Now, we have 3 audio points to work with. We have the one that's at the beginning of our timeline, we have the one at the end of the intro, and then one just after the intro starts as these basses are really starting to pick up. We'll grab this last audio point and we'll simply drag it down to lower the volume to a very low level, maybe about 15 or 16%. Then we'll back up our playhead and have a listen to what that sounds like. In this movie, we're going to explore working with tabs in the Firefox web browser. Tabs allow us to have multiple web pages. That's sounding much better. Our intro audio is still a little bit hot, so we'll go ahead and pull this level down. That way the audio starts at a higher level and then it starts to decrescendo as it's getting in closer and closer to the time when we begin speaking. It may take a little bit of adjustment to get these levels exactly right, but with a little bit of playing around with it, you'll be able to get it to work just the way you want it. Let's go ahead and back it up and play it one more time to see what it sounds like. In this movie, we're going to explore working with tabs in the Firefox web browser. Tabs allow us to have multiple web pages. That's much better. This area here where we've lowered the volume down to a very low level is that ducking effect. We're essentially dropping this level of audio down to a low enough level that this other audio here is the predominant audio in the track at that point. Now, as we move our attention down here towards the end, we'll simply double-click on the timeline to move our playhead down, and then we'll go ahead and zoom in on the timeline down there a little bit so we can get a little bit closer look as to what's going on. Once we're finished speaking, there's no reason why we can't start to bring that audio track up for the outro of our video. Before we're finished, we'll go ahead and we'll add a title slide that will end up down here in a later movie. But for now, we'll go ahead and add a new edit point right here where we stop speaking. So once again, we'll right-click and click Add Audio Point. We'll right-click on it again and add another audio point, so we've got our 2 points to add a nice crescendo. We'll grab the second point and drag that audio level up, and we can even drag it downstream a little bit so we get our audio to show up at the right point where we want it. Let's go ahead and back that up and see what it sounds like. More efficient online researcher. And right in here, we have a nice symbol that's coming in, and it's really changing the tone. But we can go ahead and end our video at that point. So we'll go ahead and drag our timeline right into that location. We'll go ahead and use the split tool to split that audio track right at that point. We can then click one time on the end of our music file and simply press the delete key on our keyboard to get rid of it. We'll go ahead and scrub our timeline back just a little bit and have one more listen. Online researcher. Now, we'll go ahead and add an audio fade right here at the end. So in order to do that, with our playhead right there at the end, we'll go ahead and drag up the in point, and then we'll use our fade out tool to create a nice fade effect there at the end. And let's preview that one more time. We'll double click to back up our timeline, and we'll see what it sounds like. More efficient online researcher. It's sounding great. And now you have a nice music track as a backer to your video.